syllabus. I'm supposed to distribute a take-home exam on Tuesday. I haven't decided whether I will or not. We'll see. Okay, so let's back up to we're going to start with 106. I think we'll still be able to get through those that I had assigned, and then assuming we do, there's 3 or 4 others we're going to come back to. So 106. When in the chronicle of wasted time I see descriptions of the fairest wights and beauty making beautiful old rhyme in praise of ladies dead and lovely knights, then in the blazon of sweet beauty's best, of hand, of foot, of lip, of eye, of brow, I see their antic pen would have expressed even such a beauty as you master now. So all their praises are but prophesies of this our time, all you prefiguring. And for they look but with divining eyes, they had not skill enough your worth to sing. For we which now behold these present days have eyes to wonder, but lack tongues to praise. So, when in the chronicle of wasted time, by the way, I should throw out, Shakespeare's the most prolific author for giving other people titles of books. I think it was Malcolm Muggeridge, who was a 20th century newsman, later essayist and such, titled his autobiography, The Chronicle of Wasted Time. Okay. So when in the Chronicle of Wasted Time, I see descriptions of the fairest time. What does he mean, wasted time? Times past. Okay. I see descriptions of the fairest wights, beauty making beautiful old rhyme in praise of ladies dead and lovely knights. So Shakespeare's writing this, let's say mid-1590s. What might be, just theoretically, sheer speculation, what might be some of those chronicles from times past that talk about in praise of ladies dead and lovely knights? What kind of literature is he talking about? Medieval literature, obviously. What types? What names from medieval literature? How many of you have had a course in medieval literature? Maybe none of you. Okay, and I'm sorry, I don't know when the medieval lit course is being offered again. Well, maybe it's in the spring. Maybe Dr. McDaniel's doing it in the spring. What big name figures prominently in medieval literature? You got to be able to guess at this one. Arthurian literature. Lancelot, Guinevere. Okay, knights, ladies. Okay, Tristan and Isolde. All right, another couple. So he's talking about that kind of literature, okay, that gives the description of the fairest wights. Wight just means creature. Creature meaning human person there. Okay? So when I read those kinds of things and I see these kinds of descriptions, then in the blazon of sweet beauty's best. What's a blazon? It's a catalog. And if you want to spell it the English way, that's fine with me. It's a catalog. Then I see, he says, the catalog of sweet beauty's best. That is, the best aspects of beauty. Well, where are those aspects of beauty? Hand, foot, okay, that's kind of weird, but go with it. Hand, foot, lip, eye, brow. Lip, eye, brow makes sense because we read all kinds of literature. Middle Ages through Shakespeare's day, we're going to see some, in fact, in one of Shakespeare's sonnets coming up, where beauty is cataloged. The beloved's eyes, the beloved's nose, the beloved's cheeks, the beloved's mouth, lips, teeth, breast, rest of the body. Breast because it's usually male gazing at women. Okay? So, he's talking about beauty's best where? Of hand, of foot, of lip, of eye, of brow. Read Lawnval. Those of you who are in where have taken me for 3010, you'll read Lawnval. You get those kinds of descriptions. Or Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, where the Green Knight's wife is described in terms of her hands, her feet, etc. So, In those things, he says, I see their antic. That means both old and kind of out of control. Okay? Frantic, if you want. Pen would have expressed even such a beauty as you master now. That is, a beauty that you control, you possess. So, all those old chronicles do what? We've seen this idea in a previous sonnet. They prefigure. They kind of divine your beauty. Divine as in divination, okay? Look forward to, prophesy your beauty. So all their praises are but your prophecies. Why? Of this our time all you prefiguring. The sonnet where he said, why don't we do that one either? Shoot. Sonnet 98, where he talked about when I've been absent for you in the spring. And so what did the speaker do? Went and played with the lilies white and the deep roses vermilion, because they were but shadows of thee. It's the same idea. Okay? Only these aren't shadows, they're prophecies. So, lost my place. Of this our time, all you prefiguring, for they but looked but with divining eyes, forward-seeing eyes. They had not skill enough your worth to sing. Okay? Because they looked but with divining eyes, that is prophetic eyes, they what? They didn't quite get you perfectly. Why? Because the you wasn't where in that wasted time? Alive. It wasn't there. For we, which now behold these present days, those of us who are alive today, we do what? We have eyes to wonder. We look at you agog. That is, we're just totally amazed. But what? We lack tongues to praise. He's kind of implying there, we lack the skill that they had back then. They lacked what? The wonder. They lacked the eyes to see you because they came before, but they had tongues to kind of foreshadow you. We are blessed by seeing you, but we can't describe you. Because the you, whoever the you is beyond description. Okay? Go from there to the one, by the way, that I muttered to myself, oh, why didn't I read that one? Or why didn't I sign that one? Was, where'd it go? 94. 94 and 93 are companions. Did I even assign 94? Yeah, I assigned it, but I should have circled it. Because 93 and 94 need to be read together. Okay? Because especially of what happens in the couplet of both of those. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so go from 106 to, now I had assigned 113 and 115. Yeah. And 116, but I didn't say to pay special focus on, or really close focus on 113 and 115. I should have added 114 because 113, 114, 115 all have the idea, or include the idea somewhat of mind, okay? Especially 113 and 114. Jump to 116, and if we have time, we'll come back to the other two. We'll also come back to 110. I don't know what I was thinking. 110. This is next to Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day. This is Shakespeare's most famous sonnet. Okay? This sonnet was used back in the 70s, probably earlier, but was used in a lot of weddings, kind of as vows, because it's so good. Keep in mind, it's to a man. From a man to a man, okay? Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Hard stop. So that just runs all through. So don't let me to the marriage of true minds admit any obstacles. Back up. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no. It is an ever fixed mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken, loves not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error, and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever louved. So, let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. This is a paraphrase, or a rephrasing, if you want, of what are called, I think I've talked about these before, the bands. The bands was a practice in the church in Shakespeare's day. I can never remember. It's either 3 consecutive Sundays or a Sunday in 3 consecutive months. I think it's 3 consecutive Sundays. Before a wedding, where the rector of the church would stand up in the pulpit and say, I'm going to use Shakespeare as an example, William Shakespeare and Anne Hathaway are to be wed on date XYZ. If anyone knows any reason why they should not be married, let him speak now or forever hold his peace. Okay? That is said publicly 3 weeks in the parish church that those 2 people attend, because in that period, you pretty much married somebody from your own town. Okay? Kind of hard to get from here to there. So that if anybody had a good reason why either of them shouldn't marry, they could step up at that point and essentially stop the marriage. Now, we know Shakespeare and his marriage to Anne Hathaway, the banns were never announced because they weren't married in Stratford. They got married, if I remember correctly, it's either 1 or 2 counties over from Stratford. Why? Shotgun wedding. Okay? So that's a paraphrase. The let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. That's a paraphrase, if you want, of that. But what's the marriage of? True minds. True minds. It's a marriage of the mind. Okay? And the minds are true. What does true mean there? Okay, what's one obvious meaning? Not false. Okay? What's another meaning of the word true? Virtuous. Virtuous? Okay. Louder? I guess kindred's possible. Loyal? How many of you ever, as a child, rode a bicycle? Everybody's hands, I hope. How many of you ever had a bicycle tire wheel that wasn't straight? You know, you'd ride it, and every now and then it would wobble a little bit, rub it maybe against the brake or the front fork or the back fork. What was that called when that tire wasn't straight? Anybody know? Out of true. That is, it wasn't straight. True means upright, straight. Okay? Why is that important? Mind A, mind B. If you take these, rather than just being lines on a board, lay them down flat like a train track, what do they do eventually? By perception, it's an optical illusion. in the distance. Okay? But what happens if they're not true in the sense that one, to use the language that Shakespeare uses in his first sonnet, about each fair from fair, what's the next word? Anybody know? Declines. What if one of them declines? Cline means at an angle. What's the D mean? Away from. Voldemort. Vol, fly or flee. D, away. Mort, death. That's what his name means. Fly or flee from death. Okay? So, if this one declines, it is not true to this one. Optical illusion never happens, right? They never touch. Okay? I'm not saying that the optical illusion part is significant. It's the trueness that's significant. Okay? Impediments. What's an impediment?
Something that stops you from doing something.
Something that stops you from doing something, right? If I wanted to walk straight from here to that wall, there's an impediment, there's an impediment, there's an impediment, there's an impediment. I got a bunch of impediments, right? A bunch of obstacles in my way. So don't let me, to the marriage of true minds, admit any obstacles, any blockages. Now that can mean that the speaker is saying, if true minds want to marry, then what?
They will.
Nothing will stop them. Nothing can stop those minds from doing what? Connecting. Notice, they're minds. They're not bodies. Big difference. Okay? Told you this one's going to take a while. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Okay, come back to our upright lines. More or less upright. And let me introduce a third line. Love is not love, which alters when it alteration finds. Okay? So I'm going to say the first love is referring to A. Okay? It is not love, which alters when it alteration finds. What's the alteration? I think the alteration is B is slightly declined. Why has B slightly declined? Let's imagine this is gravity at work, and C is larger than both B or C. What does gravity do? It attracts B to C. Okay? Which alters, love is not love which alters when it alteration finds. That is, A is still upright. Why? Because A still loves B. B, however, the alteration is kind of moved a little bit toward, this is kind of the roving eyes idea. It has looked at C and said, But A hasn't altered. Or bends with the remover to remove. This is the remover. Put it in our language. This is a person in a relationship saying, I'm out of here. The person being spoken to, A, however, if it is a love of true minds, what does the speaker say A does?
Still loves.
Still loves. It is still true. It doesn't alter. It doesn't say, F you, and off to somebody else. Okay, we could just stop right there and have a pretty long philosophical discussion as to whether or not this is true, or right, or correct, or is this an ideal? Oh, no. Love of true minds, between two minds, is an ever-fixed mark. Ever-fixed mark means what about this mark? It's forever. It doesn't change. It doesn't stop. Okay? What kind of ever-fixing mark? That looks on tempests and is never shaken. Tempest is kind of a specific term in Shakespeare's day. It refers to wild storms. He has a play, it's kind of the last one we're going to do, titled The Tempest, okay, about a storm at sea that casts some boats onto a rocky, quote-unquote, deserted island, which actually turns out to be not so deserted. So it's an ever-fixing mark that looks on tempest and is never shaken. Is there any kind of mark, symbol, idea in our quote-unquote history of ideas that could fit that thing? Think of tempest as being like a hurricane or a storm at sea. You're a mariner. You don't have GPS. You don't have a sextant even. But you do have your eyes and you can see what to navigate by. Stars, sun. Stars, which stars in particular? Northern Hemisphere, the North Star. Southern Hemisphere, the Southern Cross. Okay? If you can see those, you can navigate, even if you can't see a coastline. So it's an ever-fixed mark. Notice, it looks down on tempests. And what? It's not shaken by the tempests. Now let's get even more metaphorical. It's a marriage of true minds. Where is the mind and the body? It's up here, right? Where are the tempests? Where do they come from? Often. Right? You cheated on me. That's from the heart. That's not from the mind. We do have, crimes of reason. The idiot, whoever the idiot was, who sent they're all fake, by the way, the bombs in the mail yesterday. I mean, the New York police initially said, oh yeah, these are real explosives. Now they're saying, no, they're not. They couldn't have exploded. I mean, I guess if you light a match to them, because some of them did have black powder, but how they're built, they couldn't have exploded. But whoever did that, in a sense, that was rational. That is, somebody had to plan that out. Okay? And then we have what other kinds of crimes? Crimes of passion. Somebody goes home, finds his or her spouse in bed with somebody else. That's a crime of passion. That's not premeditated, thought out. It's how dare you. Okay? So it's the star to every wandering bark, and Shakespeare makes his allusion clearer. It's the star, the North Star. Bark in Shakespeare's day, one of its meanings is not just what's on the outer side of a tree, but a boat. And notice, what's the boat doing? It's wandering. It's like, oh, that looks like a good port. A safe haven. This one's gotten kind of dull and boring. Let's get, something a little more spicy. Rather than Jacksonville, let's go to Monaco. Whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Height be taken? That's talking about using a sextant. Okay, but its worth, that is, its internal worth, its self-worth, from down here, you can't determine that. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Why rosy lips and cheeks? Who is that describing? Louder? A youth? What else? Is it I hate this word. Is it quote unquote gendered? Yeah, it is, actually. You don't describe men, not even Shakespeare's day, as having rosy lips, okay, or rosy cheeks. Those are attributes fairly restricted to women. So, love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within what? His bending sickle's compass come. What is time's Notice, love's not time's fool. The rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. What is time's bending sickle's compass? 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. If you take a sickle and you bend and you go in a circle, what do? You make a circle. Okay? We've already seen time described as doing what? To everything. It kills us all. Okay? So, love, we're told, rosy lips and cheeks come within time's bending sickle's compass. Let's take these two images and let's replace them like this. This is, let's say, A. This is A's bending sickle's compass, and this is B's. That is, this is A's experience of time. This is B's experience of time. Notice they overlap. We still today use the language of so-and-so's sphere of influence. What does that mean? Somebody's sphere of influence. Before he was elected president, what was Trump's sphere of influence? What kind of business people? Yes, businessmen. What kind? How did he make his money? Other than the money he got from his father. Real estate. He was a developer. Okay. What about, I can't use either of them because they were always public people. Ronald Reagan. George Bush. The younger, not the elder. Baseball, oil, those are parts of his spheres of influence. That idea of a sphere of influence, the sphere idea, that's 2,500 years old. That's talking about the universe, as our perception of it, is made up of, have we talked about this before? The Ptolemaic conception of the universe, 9 spheres. So you have the earth at the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Outside those is God. Okay. These all move. Each one of these is a sphere of influence. What does it do? It influences the sphere below. This is why, if you believe in it, astrology makes sense. This is why if you're born under Saturn, that's different than being born under Venus. And we still talk about, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, books, self-help stuff. So, the sphere of influence, do I walk around with my own sphere of influence that is like, the old Get Smart cone of silence, and if I bump into somebody else's, we bump off of each other? No. That's where we overlap. This is where rosy lips and cheeks do what? Attract. This is where my sphere bumps into her sphere, and I go, she's kind of cute. Okay? Love alters not. With his, who's the his? Times. Brief hours and weeks. And I never even thought of this before. Just that. What might the brief hours and weeks be? This is a marriage of true minds. It's not bodies. A fling. Brief hours. Weeks. Hours, one night stand. Weeks. It's nothing serious. It's a temporary thing. Because again, it's minds that are being talked about. Because rosy lips and cheeks, those aren't of the mind. Those are what? Those are physical. Those are sensual. Those are, according to some interpretations, entirely sexual. They are entirely, if you accept this kind of line of argument, evolutionary what's the next word? Products of evolution, all designed for what? Propagation. Okay? Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, times, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. Okay, edge of doom is pretty easy. End of the world, or death, that is individual death, or the day of judgment kind of thing. But what about the verb? Bears. What does bears imply? Suffering. Bears isn't just like carrying. Bears means enduring. It's not easy. Not saying it's, sheer pain, but, there are what in every relationship? Challenges, which are the downs, and then there are ups, right? There are ups and downs. That's the tempests. Okay? So it bears it out. It endures these things. What does St. Paul famously say about love in, 1 Corinthians 15? Patient and kind and bears all things. Okay? If this be error, if I'm wrong, and what? Upon me proved. Now, does upon me mean to me? Upon and to don't usually mean the same thing. Okay? But it's poetry, and you gotta, allow for a bit of ambiguity. If it is, and to me proved, that means one thing. Upon me, however, means and upon my life. If proven that I'm wrong because of how I live, then I never writ, nor no man ever loved. Notice what he's done with the final couplet. What's his final proof? That I'm right. Well, I did writ, because I writ this. And we're all still reading it 400 years later. Okay? So, what's this poem talking about? Is this merely another version of 97 and 98? From you, I've been absent in the spring. Oh, yeah, and I hooked up a couple of times, but they were just shadows of you. Because the speaker and the person being addressed, what? They're connected up here. And bear in mind, Sonnet 20, thy love's use is for women's pleasure, not mine. Okay? However you interpret this, this is one of the quote-unquote 100 great English love poems. Because if you do take it to be love of true minds, and that Shakespeare doesn't mean they're simply friendship, but he means kind of soulmate idea, then what is he saying?
That our love transcends our bodies.
Our love transcends our bodies. So what do you do if your mate's body cheats on you?
Still love them.
Let it go. Still love them. Bear it. Endure it. Now, take that idea and put it in 2018. Yeah, right. Okay. But this is the reason why this thing was used as quote-unquote wedding vows. Because if you understand it that way, it's like, damn, that's a pretty powerful statement of love. But again, it's not erotic or romantic love. It is, lack of a better term, I would say spiritual love. Okay? Bear in mind, when Shakespeare writes this, let's say 1595, because we don't know the exact date, where's his wife? Stratford. Where is Shakespeare? London. About 90 miles away. Where he has been, we don't know for sure, but possibly since as late or as early as 1589, 1590. And we have nothing, almost nothing, that tells us Shakespeare ever went back to Stratford from 1589 to when he finally goes back home, 1613. Though in the late 1590s, he is involved in some things at Stratford. We don't know whether he is personally there. He buys property, biggest house in town. Why? Because he's rolling in the dough. He gets a coat of arms for his father, so his father can now be considered a gentleman. Okay? But that doesn't involve him having to be back in Stratford. That involves him actually being in London to do that. Right? Could this be Shakespeare's way? If one reads these poems autobiographically, could this be Shakespeare's way of telling Anne, up here I'm with you. Yeah, maybe physically I'm with Jane. But up here, interestingly, when Shakespeare dies and he leaves us his will, anybody know what he leaves his wife? The second best bed. Which a lot of people are like, yeah, what a lowlife. I mean, you could at least leave her the good one. But what's the second best bed? The marriage bed. Why? Because you leave the best one, that is the best bed in the house, is for what? Guests. The implication is the second best bed, it's had a bit of use. Okay. 116, 127. And I have no idea why. It's because I did not sleep well the other night. I know before I came up with these. We should have done 126. And I'm going to try to come back to it. And one of the reasons we should have done it is Shakespeare writes 154 sonnets. No, he doesn't. He writes 153 and number 126, which is not a sonnet because it's only 12 lines. But it's included. So, 127. This is the first of the sonnets addressed to / directed at, specifically, the Dark Lady. In the old age, black was not counted fair. Or if it were, it bore not beauty's name. That is, it wasn't counted, fair means beautiful. Or, okay, maybe it was, but it wasn't really said to be beautiful. That is, people might have thought black could be pretty, but it's not the ideal of beauty. But now is black beauty's successive heir. That is, black now inherits the name of beauty. And beauty slandered with a bastard shame. For since each hand hath put on nature's power. How does each hand put on nature's power? How can a hand ascribe to itself the power of nature? Well, what does nature do? Go back to Sonnet 20. Since nature while forming thee fell a doting, and for women wert thou first created. What is nature doing there? Nature is forming this person. Nature forms this person's face so that it looks like it's for a woman that is supposed to be a woman. For since each hand hath put on nature's power. You have to wonder, I have to wonder, what Shakespeare would do if we could bring him up to 2018. So that he could see one particular industry and what he would do with that industry. Anybody know what industry? Cosmetics, makeup. That's what he's talking about. You can take a face and do what to it? Change it. I mean, it could be make it pretty. It could also be make it ugly. But here he's talking about taking something that is plain, let's say, I'm not going to be derogative, and making it pretty. For since each hand hath put on nature's power, each hand is able to make the face beautiful, fairing the foul with art's false borrowed face. Fairing, beautifying the ugly, that's what foul is, with art's false borrowed face. Sweet beauty hath no name, no holy bower. Now, when you can even make an ugly person beautiful, what does that do to the meaning of the word beautiful? But is profaned, if not lives in disgrace. He's talking about the idea of beauty. If everything becomes beautiful, then what?
Nothing.
Then nothing is beautiful. Why? Because beautiful is a degree. Okay? The idea of beauty ranges. It's a spectrum or a hierarchy from not beautiful to absolutely stunning or gorgeous or whatever. And if you take everything else so that everybody is absolutely stunning and gorgeous, then everybody is what? The same. Okay? Therefore, that means because these two previous statements, quatrains 1 and quatrains 2, are correct, my mistress's eyes are raven black. Her eyes are black as night. Her eyes so suited. Suited means both appropriate and what? I don't usually wear one. A suit, which is something you can put on. Her eyes so suited, so properly adorned, put on. And they mourners seem, why? Because you wear black when you're in mourning. At such who not born fair, that is, they are mourning at those who not born beautiful, what? No beauty lack. Not born beautiful, and yet they're beautiful because of the hand that nature hath put on, the makeup they wear. They do what? She's mourning them. Why? Because they slander creation with a false esteem. Pick your Hollywood actor or actress in their, let's use this language, declining years, who continue to put on gobs of makeup. Yeah, either sex, it doesn't matter because they both do. Trying to do what? Slander creation. Because what does creation say happens to us as we age? We get less and less attractive. We develop wrinkles. I know some people get better with age. Okay, there are an awful lot of women I know who are a whole lot prettier at 40 or 45 or 50 than they were at 20 or 25 or 30. And there's a lot more men who are a lot sexier at 50 or 60 than they were at 20 or 30. I'm seeing heads going like this. Yet so they mourn. His mistress's eyes mourn, becoming of their woe, that every tongue says beauty should look so. Look so how? Like the mistress's eyes? No. Like what? The false painted on beauty. Now, Queen Elizabeth thought what was beautiful? Super white skin. I mean, if you want to talk about anybody being a white nationalist, so to speak, kind of, Queen Elizabeth there. Pun, don't mistake. Okay? This ultra white. Shakespeare might be, taking a little dig at that. Shakespeare might be going, hey man, let's just kind of go back to California in the 70s and let everybody just ditch all the makeup and, start walking around and singing Sonnet 116 and be cool. Not sure that he is, but it's kind of implied. Okay, go from there. Yeah, man, I thought I forgot that one. To 129. 129 and 138, I think. No, 129 and 135. 135 really is probably one of Shakespeare's dirtiest sonnets. 135 is kind of pointing us in that direction. Okay? So he's implied about his mistress that at least her eyes are dark, and hasn't said anything else, okay, about skin color or anything. The expense of spirit and a waste of shame is lust in action. Until action, lust is perjured, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust, enjoyed no sooner but despised straight, past reason hunted and no sooner had, past reason hated as a swallowed bait, on purpose laid to make the taker mad. Let's stop there for a moment. Notice, we still haven't concluded that sentence. Those are just a series of independent clauses. Okay? Right? Yeah. It doesn't end till the end of line 12. So, 2 opening quatrains. The expense of spirit in a waste of shame is lust in action. Expense. What's he mean by that? The cost, the giving out, okay, of spirit in a waste of shame. That is a waste, a not wisely purchased, okay, or a throwing away. What else can waste mean? Spell it differently. Again, Shakespeare, if he finds something he can pun on, he'll pun on it. A waste of shame. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern will say in Hamlet, when Hamlet says, you know, that you're not on fortune's cap, nor under her foot, they say, no, faith, her privates we. That is, they're around the privates of fortune. So, expense of spirit and a waste of shame. Well, how do you waste your spirit? How do you give away your spirit? I mean, you could go through the marriage vow, I guess. You know, you're pledging your troth and all that. Maybe that. That's not it. It's a Renaissance notion that Shakespeare will play with, and a whole lot of poets and playwrights will play with. It's a Renaissance notion that every time you have an orgasm, you die a little bit. So you'll have poets say, kill me again, kill me again. John Donne has a poem where he talks about dying and rising again. Very phallic, okay? It's a beautiful poem. So, I lost my place. Expense of spirit, that is the loss of life. A little bit. In a waste of shame is what? Lust in action. In action. Acted out. Fulfilled. Because lust, until it is acted out, that is, till action, lust, is what? Perjured, because it's a lie. If the lust only occurs up here, you're lusting / sleeping, playing around with somebody up here, it's a lie. That's not real. But when it gets brought out and acted into the real world, then it becomes real. So it's perjured, murderous, bloody, full of blame, savage, extreme, rude, cruel, not to trust, enjoyed no sooner, but despised straight. Can you think of an example from a modern film, modern being the last, I think, 10 years, might be even older than that, I don't think so, where this idea is clearly, unequivocally expressed about enjoyed no sooner, but despised straight? Anybody in here seen the film Hitch? Okay, I'm seeing a bunch of, yeah. What scene? There's the character that, I can't remember the actress's name. Hitch's girlfriend has a girlfriend, right? She's from the South. Okay? And there's this guy, she kind of has the hots for, and they hook up, and Hitch's girlfriend thinks it's Hitch's fault that the two hook up, because we find out it wasn't a pleasant experience for her, and I can't remember, Kelly or something like that. I can't remember her name. And so Hitch's girlfriend, kind of gets real angry and kind of breaks up with him, whatever. And he's like, what? I didn't do anything. Well, when he found out what the guy had done, he goes and meets the guy, right? And they're on Wall Street, famous scene in New York. They're on Wall Street. You got the big giant brass bull. He knees the guy in the groin. And the guy bends over and he's right at the bull's rear end. And the guy says, anybody remember the words? All this for a lousy lay. That is that line. It is enjoyed no sooner. That is, this guy pursued whatever the girlfriend's name was. And she, played the game and then gave in. Enjoyed no sooner, but despised straight. She's just a notch on his belt for him. Past reason hunted. Past reason hunted. People will do what for quote unquote love? Notice the quote unquote. Lust. Stupid things. Really stupid. That is, beyond reason. It doesn't make any sense. And no sooner had past reason hated. It is hated with as much passion as it was sought. As a swallowed bait. Because what happens when you swallow bait? You get the hook in your mouth. See, that's the bad aftertaste. On purpose laid, yeah, he is punning on that word laid. In intention laid, to get laid, or put down, to make the taker mad. And Shakespeare might be introducing here a little problem that ran around in 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st century England and every other culture. STDs. Okay. Mad in pursuit. Mad, beyond reason, crazy. In pursuit and in quest to have, extreme, a bliss in proof. That is, in proving, in trying, in testing, lust in action. That is, in the very act itself, but proved, done, after, later. It's not the two in bed with a cigarette image. It's a very woe. Before a joy proposed. Come on, you'll enjoy it. It'll be great. After a dream. And what were we told about dreams at the end of Midsummer Night's Dream? They're what? They're brief and yielding little. All this the world well knows. Everybody knows this, he says. Yet none knows well to shun the heaven that leads men to this hell. Now he might mean men generically, all humanity, but I don't think he does. I think he means men. In which case, who might the sonnet be addressing? Golden-haired youth. And he's going, she got to you, didn't she? She, not her lust, but she did what? She, the dark lady, to the golden-haired youth. She seduced him. She built up his lust. Now that you fulfilled it, not so good, is it? Now, if that's the proper reading, I'm not saying it is, then what is the speaker really doing in the poem? You don't want her. Why? I do. She's mine. Okay? Go from there to 130. And who famously, what master of arts in literature, I don't think it was Oxford, I can't remember where he got his degree, famously plagiarized this poem. In a hit song from the, long before all you guys were born, about mid-90s. No, I take that back, earlier than that. Late 80s. Sting had a song called My Mistress' Eyes, or called Nothing Like the Sun. Okay? My Mistress's Eyes, he got a Master of Arts in Literature, by the way. Imagine having Sting as your TA, you know. That'd be amazing. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. What are we getting here? But the blazon is usually a catalog of beauty. Shakespeare has an anti-blazon. He's going to take all those traditional kind of Petrarchan images, turn them on their head, turn them upside down. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. If hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I have seen roses damasked red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak. Yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love is rare, as any she belied with false compare. So, her eyes are nothing like the sun. Why? Because Petrarch and everybody following him compares their lover's eyes, or the beloved's eyes, to sunlight. Blinding, astounding. Hers, dark as pitch. Okay? Coral is far more red than her lips red. Now, what would Shakespeare's experience of coral be? Coral, you know, the stuff that grows in the ocean. What does it look like in the ocean? What colors? Red. And deep red and orange. Okay? What happens to coral when you take it out of the ocean? It dries out, it dies. It turns white. It turns pale. Okay? Go back to my first question. What would Shakespeare's experience of coral have been? Did Shakespeare ever go scuba diving in the Caribbean?
He would see it while it's on the ocean.
He would have seen it out of the ocean when it's pale. Coral, my experience of coral, is far more red than her lips red. What is he saying about her lips? Yeah, they're pale. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun. What's dun? Nobody's really got any dun in here. It's like dirty dishwater, dirty laundry water, brownish and brackish. So, the traditional blazon, breasts are white as snow. In fact, there's an 17th century poet named, make sure I get the right one, Robert Herrick, who writes a poem upon, actually writes two. One on Julia's breast and another one on Julia's nipples. He actually writes it and publishes it. Where he talks about her breasts being very white, okay? And the nipples being like strawberries. So you get the very red, the very white. Hers, kind of disgusting. If hairs be wires, well, black wires grow on her head. What's he mean by wire? Stringy, possibly kinky, frizzled like. I have seen roses damasked red and white. Damask, that is, variously colored. No such roses see I in her cheeks. That is, you can't see blushing and paleness in her cheeks. And then probably my two favorite lines of all of Shakespeare's sonnets, because they're so disgusting. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. Ladies, if your significant other says your breath reeks, you got a problem. Okay? I love to hear her speak, yet well I know. Her voice is like what? I never watched it, but I know what she sounds like. Any of you ever see the old TV show, The Nanny? Fran Drescher. Okay? I love to hear her speak, yet well I know music hath the more pleasing sound. I never saw a goddess go. Why? All these previous lovers, I talked about Sir Philip Sidney with Astrophil and Stella. Astrophil, star lover, Stella, star. He puts his beloved up in the heavens. Okay? I never saw a goddess go. All these other writers, their beloveds are goddesses. They're like Venus or Aphrodite, etc. My mistress, when she walks, she treads on the ground. Now, one way to understand that, and I'm not saying it's the only way, but one way to understand that is he's saying that she's a streetwalker, a whore. In other words, all these other guys, their girlfriends are goddesses. Mine, she's a hooker. And yet, by heaven, that is, I swear to God, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. All these other sonneteers in their blazons, he says, are doing what? They're lying. Their lovers aren't really like that. Why? Well, because for some of them, they're not real. Mine, she really leaves footsteps in the dirt. Mine, I can really feel her kinky hair. I can really smell her bad breath in the morning. Okay? Compare this with the previous one about nature's hand painting a false. Nope. No glossying up her. That was 130, 31 we'll skip. Go to 135. Okay, now, in this, your footnote says, I think it points out, Shakespeare's pointing on the use of the word will. Because in Shakespeare's day, will has many different meanings. 1, name. 2, volition or desire. 3, genitalia. Men's and women's. Okay? Whoever hath her wish, thou hast thy will. That is, desire. Or more. In will to boot, in will in over. In fact, I might just read this one and not discuss it. And I might give this, if I do the exam, use this one. Yeah, I might do that. More than enough am I that vex thee still, to thy sweet will, making addition thus. Now I take it back, I got you. To thy sweet will, making my will, okay, adding my will to your will, making addition, thus also, some have implied, getting pregnant. Wilt thou, notice the past tense of will there, the verb, wilt thou, whose will is large and spacious, Renaissance notion, women cannot, and medieval, women cannot be sexually satisfied by a single man. That's why they cheat on you. Therefore, guys, you get married, guess what? You're automatically going to become cuckolded. She's going to cheat on you. So, which is why Chaucer in some of his tales has, like the wife of Bath say, essentially, if you're getting what you need, don't worry about it. what else she's getting. Okay? Just be satisfied. So, wilt thou, whose will is large and spacious, not once vouchsafe to hide my will in thine? Come on, honey, just once, please. Shall will in others seem right gracious? I mean, come on. You've had Fred and George and John and Ben. And in my will no fair acceptance shine? You'll sleep with all them, but not me? What gives? This sea, and so he gives us a metaphor. The sea, I mean, how's this for rhetoric? This is just genius. All water yet receives rain still, and in abundance addeth to his store. So thou, being rich in will, that is her individual will, as well as you've had a lot of wills before me, so thou being rich in will, add to thy will one will of mine. And that can be this, and me will. To make thy large will more. No unkind. Unkind means unnatural. Let no unkind, no fair beseechers kill. Think all but one, and me in that one will. Now that takes us back to sonnet kind of 97 and 98. Yeah, I've been absent from you in the spring. Yeah, I dallied with the roses and the lilies, but they were just images of you. So let me sleep with you, and what? You've had all men. An experience of me will be an experience of all men. That is, let me be the type for all men. Okay? 138. Don't tell me that. Tell me the time. 138. When my love swears that she is made of truth, I do believe her, though I know she lies. So shall I love thee, supposing thou art true, and like a deceived husband, we read in that earlier sonnet. So when my love swears that she is made of truth, I do believe her, though I know she lies. That she might think me some untutored youth, unlearned in the world's false subtle ties. Thus vainly thinking that she thinks me young, although she knows my days are past the best. Simply I credit her false speaking tongue. On both sides thus is simple truth suppressed. But wherefore says she not, she is unjust? And wherefore say not I that I am old? Oh, love's best habit is in seeming trust. And age and love loves not to have years told. Therefore I lie with her, and she with me, and in our faults by lies we flattered be. So, she swears to me she's made of truth. And I believe her, but I know she lies. Well, how can you believe something that you know isn't true? Because you want to, okay? That, why does he believe her? That she might think me some untutored youth. What's untutored mean?
Not taught.
Not taught. Okay, so that then raises the next question. Not taught in what? Love. Sex. I believe her, but I know she lies. That is, I act like I believe her. Really? But I know she lies. Why? So that she'll think me some untutored youth, unlearned in the world's false subtle ties. Unlearned, untaught. So she can teach me. Vainly thinking that she thinks me young. Is the speaker the one vainly thinking? Or is she vainly thinking? And I think the implication is yes. It's both. That is, she knows he's not young, but she's going to pretend he is. Although she knows my days are past the best. He's Probably not even like that. If this represents life and this represents death, he's like this. He's past middle age. Although she knows my days are past the best, simply I credit her false speaking tongue. Simply I credit. What does I credit literally mean? It's the English for the word credo, I believe. Okay? On both sides, thus is simple truth suppressed. They're both lying, and they both know they're lying. And they both know the other one is lying. But wherefore says she not she is unjust? Why doesn't she tell me honestly, truthfully, I'm cheating on you? And why don't I tell her that I'm older than I am? Oh, love's best habit is in seeming trust. There's that verb, indicates condition contrary to fact. Appearing trust, but not real trust. In age and love, love's not to have years told. Told, not necessarily spoken, counted out. So I lie with her. Punning, I lie, get horizontal, and I don't speak the truth with her and she with me. In what? In our faults by lies we flattered be. That is, she flatters me, I flatter her, I know it's all lies, but I feel better. 142. Love is my sin, and thy dear virtue hate. Hate of my sin, grounded on sinful loving. Oh, but with mine, compare thou thine own state, and thou shalt find it merits not reproving. Or if it do, not from those lips of thine that have profaned their scarlet ornaments. How can one's lips profane their scarlet ornaments? That is, the lips themselves. By lying, St. James says, the mouth, out of the mouth come false things, lies. How else can they? Think of this image. Rosy lips and cheeks, maybe touching the wrong things, wrong set of lips, and sealed false bonds of love as oft as mine. That's how those lips have profaned. Oh, I love you. Notice, that person's lips have profaned the red ornaments. What? As oft as mine have. Robbed others' beds, revenues of their rents. Robbed others' beds, revenues of their rents. What's he talking about?
Sleeping with somebody else's bed.
You slept with somebody else. It's really more the idea of you slept with somebody else's husband. That is, the revenue that he owes his wife is quote unquote his seed. Okay? You stole that. Be it lawful, I love thee as thou lovest those whom thine eyes woo, as mine importune thee. Be it lawful. Is it right? Root pity in thy heart. Root, plant it. Make it firm in thy heart. Why? So that when it grows, thy pity may deserve to pitied be. If thou dost seek to have what thou dost hide, by self-example mayst thou be denied. So, what kind of tone does this have? Louder. Negative? Kind of disgusted? Go from there. See, that was 142 to 151. that other one? No, take that back. Why did I not circle that? 144. Now, this poem was actually printed before the sonnets were printed in 1609. Some of the sonnets were printed in earlier collections, but not as, collection of William Shakespeare. This was printed in 1599. Two loves I have of comfort and despair, which like two spirits do suggest me still. That is, like two spirits, kind of the old Warner Brothers cartoons. One on this shoulder speaking into the ear, one on this shoulder speaking into the ear. So these are the two loves. The better angel is a man right fair, golden-haired youth. The worser spirit a woman colored ill. That is, dark. To win me soon to hell, my female evil tempteth my better angel from my side. She has seduced him and would corrupt my saint to be a devil, wooing his purity with her foul pride. And whether that my angel be turned fiend, how would the angel be turned fiend? Against me. Suspect I may, yet not directly tell. Remember when he said, I look in your eyes and all I see is love, but I know what's in your heart. Don't let your virtue be what? Be like Eve's apple. So, suspect I may, yet not directly tell, but being both from me, both to each friend, that is, they are friend to each other. Why? Because they're both friends of mine and they met through me. I guess one angel in another's hell. That is, my angel, my friend, is in my hell. Lust in action, in a spirit of shame, okay? Or lust in a waste of shame. Lust in action and a waste of shame. So, yet this shall I ne'er know. So, I do live supposing thou art true, but I don't know it. Yet this shall I ne'er know, but live in doubt, till my bad angel fire my good one out. Get rid of the good one. Kick him off. The fire, however, can also imply what? I won't know that he's really been sleeping with her until and unless what? He quote unquote catches fire. Well, how? How will the speaker know that the male friend catches fire? Well, what's one of the symptoms of venereal disease? Burning urination. That could be the fire out. Okay? I mean, it's all there in Shakespeare, by the way. So it's just... Okay, now go to 151. Love is too young to know what conscience is. Yet who knows not conscience is born of love? Love's too young to know what conscience is, but who doesn't know that love might be born from the conscience? Then, gentle cheater. Nothing like, the bold statement. All subtlety out the door. Urge not my amiss, lest guilty of my faults thy sweet self prove. Guilty of my faults. Unless you prove guilty of my sins. Is it my sins? Or is it my expectations of my conscience that you are false? For thou, betraying me, I do betray my nobler part to my gross body's treason. Nobler part, that's the reason. My soul doth tell my body that he may triumph in love. That is the soul telling the body that the body can triumph in love? The he? Or is the soul telling the body that he, the soul, can triumph in love? In other words, I can take all these tempests and overlook them. Flesh stays no farther reason, but rising at thy name doth point out thee as his triumphant prize. Proud of this pride, he is contented thy poor drudge to be. Who is the he? Is it the body? That the body is the poor drudge of thee? To stand in thy affairs, erection, and fall by thy side, possibly. No want of conscience hold it that I call her love, for whose dear love I rise and fall. Now, this is addressed to the dark lady. This is not to the golden-haired youth. Okay, we only have a minute. Go back and read carefully, because I should have included them. 110, 113, and I think we did 114.
You just told us today 114 as well.
Yeah. 110, 113, 114, and we didn't do, and 126, because 126 is kind of the end of the golden-haired youth. O thou, my lovely boy, who in thy power dost hold time's fickle glass, his sickle hour. But it's the only one that's not an actual sonnet. And then we start, I think, Hamlet for Tuesday.
Can you read them one more time? Those sonnets.
Add 110, 113, 126, and 114. If there is a take-home exam, it'll probably be something like, choose a sonnet, maybe choose a sonnet we haven't done, and tell me in a couple pages what it means. Okay?